everyone, and welcome to Yellow Door Urban Homestead. I am Asia, and I'm an urban gardener growing in a small space in my backyard. I started harvesting a few things a little while ago. I'm going to replant my beans and some more squash today, squash and zucchini. My zucchini plant that is left is doing really well, so I'm going to show you all that. But I came out here to do that, and I noticed all of this was ready. So there goes my little squash, and there's more growing in there. There's one back there too. So pretty excited about that. Squash bug. I haven't even checked these in a few days. With my other little problem, some other things have been left to their own devices. There's a spider mite, I believe that's what that is. Or maybe not. Looked like one at first. Not touching that because I don't know what it is. So I also noticed there were some Shishito peppers that could be harvested. So I'm gonna go ahead and harvest those as well. Right here, there were beans. Over here, there were beans. And so I pulled those out because they weren't producing anymore. And I'm gonna put the other beans over here on this trellis. I still have some bush beans. I'm probably gonna throw those in there. And the squash, I'm gonna throw over in the bed where the potatoes were. And hope for the best, honestly. So, my seedlings that I started, I don't know, can't remember, but I think we started them together, but they should have been out. You can see that, how tall they are. It's beans and squash. They should have been out, but I was trying to get my little rodent problem under control and kind of left these to their own devices, but they still look pretty good. So I'm gonna put them out today. It rained the last 2 days, so the soil is pretty moist. It is supposed to be like 92 degrees today. They've been in the greenhouse. So they haven't been outside hardening off. And so if this doesn't work, again, do as I say, not as I do, I guess, type thing. Because I just wanna go ahead and get them out now. So that's kale, Swiss chard. This is all kale. This is not looking that good, but I'm still gonna throw it out there. This is Lacianato, so dinosaur kale, and more Swiss chard. My loofah plants have a mind of their own. They're all over here in the asparagus bed. So I'm gonna take them and try to train them back up and through this trellis. I had one loofah, it didn't make it. Vine is growing well, but I don't have any loofah. I haven't even seen any flowers. This is my second year. I'm not calling it a success, but I am saying that I've done better than I have in previous years because I have a very nice vine growing. And before, I couldn't even get the vine to grow well. If you have any tips on actually growing loofah and not the loofah vine, let me know in the comments. I am open. I really want to grow some loofah. And so these are more bush beans. I'm gonna put these in the same bed that I'm gonna put the pole beans in, because the pole beans will grow up the trellis, and these will grow as a bush on the ground. I'm noticing in this bed over here that there's borage. Borage is like very prolific and will self-sow itself when the seeds fall. So I'm noticing that there's borage popping up over here. I'm just gonna let it go. I do like borage. I like it for the pollinators. I like it for myself. I'm gonna pull this cherry tomato out. I wasn't a fan of it. It was a larger, it said it was some kind of ground cherry, but it was much bigger, like a tomatillo, and I wasn't a fan of the taste, and I didn't actually plant this. This volunteered here. This area right here has already been, I've already added some compost into it and added some fertilizer, granulated organic fertilizer to this area too. So I'm just gonna plant a bean for each one of these poles And I'm gonna do it on both sides of the trellis. All the basil that has not started to flower, I'm gonna try and move it to another space. So wish me luck, I'll show you that too. You remember I had pulled out all of the things that were in this bed. So those basil that are over there, I'm going to plant them in between these dying nasturtiums. This bed has also already been amended for the season. Once I pulled everything out, I went ahead and put down the fertilizer and the compost. So this one has started flowering a little bit. I'm just gonna pull the flowers off and see what happens. This was a, let's see. Smells like licorice, so I'm thinking it's the holy Tulsi. So I'm gonna go around it, try to get as much as the root ball as I can. There's a borage plant that I'm assuming just had to meet its death. All right. So that's the plant. I'm gonna go around and get them all and then move over to the other bed. I'm gonna move over here. Can't use my little stool. I don't really have space over here for it. Lost a lot of my root on that one, so we'll see what happens there. And now I'm gonna water that in really good because when you are moving the plant, you wanna make sure that there's no air pockets. Actually, not just when you're moving it, when you are planting anything, like if you're planting your seedlings out, you wanna make sure that you water them in really good to remove any air pockets. Make sure that the roots have good contact with the soil because that's how they're gonna get established. I probably could have thrown some bone meal at the bottom of that hole, but I really didn't think about it. And so, oh, I left a plant. Had to come back and get that. But I'm gonna water them in, and I have some rainwater from yesterday, so that is perfect. So I'm sure you can see now there are a few holes. I'm gonna grab some compost. I have bag compost because my compost is like full of stuff and it is composting, and I didn't want to pull out the finished compost before I cleaned out the chicken area. So now all of the good finished compost is at the bottom. Both bins are full, and so I cannot flip it. But anyway, it'll be ready for next spring. But I brought some black cow compost, so I'm gonna mix that in a little bit over here. I'm gonna water this soil just to make sure that it is completely saturated or not like waterlogged, but it's damp and it's well watered. And then I'm gonna plant my beans on this trellis and my bush beans in this bed. So we're gonna start with the pole beans. And so these are purple potted pole beans. There are probably 2 to a sale. That's normally how I plant them. Just in case of, this is the only one where only one bean came up. Make sure that I get germination. And so beans, I'm sure if you've watched any kind of videos, beans don't like to have their roots disturbed, but it's well time for them to come out of these. So I'm hoping that I can grab the whole sail and just drop it down into the ground. Like I said on my garden tour last week, Charles Dowding does it and it works. So I was able to get the whole sail And I'm just gonna drop it down. And they look a little brown because they were outside and it was really hot, and they kept drooping, and so I got nervous. And so clearly I probably overwatered a little bit. I'm just putting it down in the ground, making sure there's contact on the sides, and then I'm just gonna cover it up. Once they get established, I'll come back and pull out the second plant so that there's only one plant growing in each hole. If they're a little longer, I'm gonna start them, train them to the trellis so that they're not hanging on the ground, laying on the ground. They're also a little root bound. So instead of planting on the other side of that trellis, I have this side of the trellis. And because beans don't take up a lot of space, I'm gonna plant what's left on this side of the trellis, and then they can just meet each other. And I'm gonna watch these beans for signs of beetles much better than I watch the beans on the entrance trellis, so that I can get my next wave of beans. So I ended up with like 4 bags, and we ate fresh twice. 4 sandwich bag size of beans, and we ate fresh twice. So it's not horrible, but I like more. So instead of planting out the squash right now, I'm going to wait. The bed that I'm planning to put them in, at this moment, it is full sun, and it will be full sun later on today. And so I'm gonna sit these out in a little more shaded spot, and then this evening I'll go ahead and plant out the squash. But the beans are all planted out now. So the bush beans are on the back side and the pole beans are on the front side. I could probably plant something that's low growing right here. I don't have anything started, so I probably won't unless I can figure out something that is low growing that I can direct seed. If you have any ideas, feel free to give me that, because those beans are going to grow up. And so that's essentially extra space. And it's kind of shaded, so I could probably do like some radishes right here. I'm going to think about that. Tell me what you think. Also, since kale and Swiss chard are fall vegetables, I'm going to go ahead and put them in this bed right here where I told you I pulled the beans out and I was letting it sit. But they are fall vegetables. I'm just going to go ahead and put them in this bed and kind of start my fall planting. Leafy green vegetables are nitrogen lovers. I'm going to go ahead and put some bone meal, well, blood meal and bone meal in these holes. The bone meal will help them to establish roots, and the blood meal is just for the nitrogen. They are heavy feeders of nitrogen. So, like I said, I had already amended this bed. Still gonna break it up a little bit. This bed, when I had the vole, I had to walk on it. So yeah, probably wasn't the best idea, but I'm gonna break it up so that the little bit of compaction that's in it at the top level can be loosened. So you can have 1 kale plant per square feet. And I'm definitely eyeballing it at this moment, but I kind of know what it looked like when I planted square feet in here. So about right here is a square foot to like right there. I'm gonna plant 1 kale plant in each square foot, and I'm gonna plant 2 Swiss chard plants. My chickens are going crazy. And 2 Swiss chard plants in each square foot. It's pretty close. And I'm just gonna put, not a handful, but a little bit of blood meal and bone meal down in the hole. This is granulated. I grabbed it grabbed it earlier this year because I couldn't find the normal bone meal that I use. I need to get my vegetables that I picked this morning out of the sun. That's 1 kale plant planted. Now I am planting kale This kale has grown through the summer. I've seen it grown through the summer on other people's pages. So I don't want you to think that you should be like planting out your fall vegetables right now, because that's not the case. I am doing this because, for one, I want more leafy green vegetables. For two, I've seen dinosaur kale on other people's YouTubes and Instagram pages, and it's still growing through the summer. So if I can get a jump start, I'm cool with that. But this is just me playing around, testing something out. So don't think you should be doing your fall vegetables and like you're behind, because you're not. Have you started your fall plants, or are you about to start your fall plants? I'm doing that this evening. I was supposed to do it on the 15th according to my planting schedule, but I didn't get around to it, so I will do that this evening. I wanted to get most of my stuff, wanted to get most of my harvest preserved, because I don't want to start growing more stuff and don't have what I have, let what I have go to waste. My switch charred, and there's probably, there's like 4 plants in this one right here. So I'm gonna put 2 in each square foot. I'm also gonna put the bone meal and blood meal in the hole, because they are a leafy green vegetable too. Unlike beans, these vegetables don't mind having their roots disturbed. So I'm gonna pull them apart. And I'm actually putting 2 to a hole, just in case something happens. I have 1. So with putting these out this early, I'm gonna have to make sure that they're watered. I am on vacation this week. So this is a perfect time for me to do this, to make sure that their roots stay moist, so that I can ensure that they continue to grow. My daughter is in all year round school, so she actually goes back to school next Monday. So that's why I'm taking vacation, because I have to do school shopping and all of that stuff with her, and hopefully get away for like a weekend trip with her too, because you just don't, the all year round school thing is odd. You don't have enough time during this summer. They do get really good breaks throughout the year, and that's normally when we go on like vacation. But during the summer, you don't really have that option. She got out of school June the 10th. She goes back to school July the 25th. So this one doesn't look good at all, but we're gonna put it out and see what happens. All right, so it is time to get back on mouse duty. Come on, puppy. It's time to get back on mouse duty now. So I came out this morning and I didn't see any, but on my way back in the house, I saw 2. So I'm gonna go ahead and put some more cheese on the trap. I did catch 1 yesterday, and then 1 just kind of died. I don't know, so I got 2 yesterday. I do appreciate everyone like dealing with me with this whole thing, because like it's new to me. I've been gardening since 2020 and I've never had to deal with mice. So like it was very much like a shock to my system, if that if that makes sense to you. And so I appreciate everyone dealing with me and all of my complaining and whining about these mice. I have decided to continue to grow my garden. Someone, I can't remember her name, but I told her twice yesterday on Instagram and on YouTube that I used her idea to cover the tomatoes with tulle. And I talked about it a little bit earlier, but right there, cover the tomatoes with tulle. There's one right there, just running through the garden. And that is working. So that was a great way to save my tomatoes, and I'm very, very appreciative for that suggestion. So the sun is out, it is warming up, and I am going inside. But thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you supporting this channel. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to visit me over on Instagram at Miss MS Asia Spratley, where I post about the things going on in the garden pretty much every day. Have a great day. Bye.